Franchising is the most misunderstood and most overlooked form of entrepreneurship. We're here to educate you and help you find the entrepreneur within. Franchising is not all about the French fries.
We find that individuals who are exploring business ownership tend to have a lot of misperceptions and misunderstandings about the franchise industry. So what we want to do is help prospective business owners make confident and educated decisions before moving forward or not moving forward with a business. Welcome to Unpredicted Entrepreneur.
Hi, welcome to episode 16 of Unpredicted Entrepreneur. As you know, we developed this podcast to provide education and information on the world of entrepreneurship with a focus on franchising. I'm Roxanne Rapsky, and this is my colleague, Sarah Wasco. And you'll notice we're dressed a little bit differently today because we are representing our sweatshirts for our next guest, who is going to tell us her story. We thought she was such a great fit because we chose the name Unpredicted Entrepreneur because most of us ended up entrepreneurs, but we did not start on that path. And Ruth is a perfect example of that. She's actually the founder of a franchise company, and she is here to share her entrepreneurial journey. She also had a corporate background, and we're going to get to hear all about that. So, Ruth, please introduce yourself. Tell us the name of your company, and then these funky sweatshirts we're wearing will make some sense. And then tell us your title, because I love your title. Tell us what your company does, and then Sarah and I will jump into some questions for you.
Okay, sounds good. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be on your show. I've been following you ladies on LinkedIn, and it is really great to be here with you. So my name is Ruth Agbaji, and I am the nerd in chief at Code Wiz. And I really like the title nerd in chief because I really am not a nerd. I'm the opposite of a nerd, but I like to tell everyone that if I could learn how to code, anyone really can. If I could start a business, anyone can. So Codewiz is an after-school program for kids ages 7 through 17. Our mission is to help kids unlock their inner genius through coding and robotics. So through classes and summer camps and vacation camps, we offer a variety of coding classes and robotics classes for kids to take and really find that thing that they're passionate about and use that to develop problem solving skills, develop their creativity, and maybe become the next Steve Jobs one day.
Haha, that's awesome. Well, thank you. So you did not start out as a franchise owner. You didn't wake up one day and out of college and just start there, right? So tell us about your journey. You have a great story, and I know we talked about this the other day, so I kind of want you to just repeat yourself, but tell us how this all started. Where did this coding start? Where did the entrepreneurship come from? And really, most importantly, it's your why. You had a big why behind that. And we always talk about that with our clients, how it's really important to have a strong why. So tell us.
Okay. Will do. All right. So I am originally from Nigeria. I was born and raised in Nigeria. I came to the US in 2010. I actually became a citizen of this great country on January 6th of last year.
My birthday. So, congratulations.
Nice. Thank you. It's been such a blessing to be here. But going back to where I was born and raised in Nigeria, and Northern Nigeria, unfortunately, is a little unstable. So there's a lot of religious crisis that goes on there. I remember very vividly having to run for my life. Somebody's chasing you with a machete and all of that. And so growing up in that environment, I always knew that I wanted to get out and I wanted to do something more with myself. I always felt like I could be more and I could do more. So as I was going through college, somebody just randomly introduced the idea of coding to me. My undergrad degree is in electrical engineering, but we weren't being taught coding at the time. And so I found it very interesting and very intriguing because I figured that all I needed was a laptop, right? If I had my laptop and if I understood how to code, I could create something out of nothing. And that's the beauty of coding. You don't really need too much to get started. So I started to try to teach myself. I would go to the internet cafe, stay there till like 3 a.m., downloading all this material so I could teach myself. And halfway through trying to teach myself and build this really big project, I got stuck. And I knew that there was no one around me that could help me. So I went back to good old Google and I Googled my problem and I found somebody in India who had written a blog post about something similar that I was experiencing. So I reached out to him. I'm like, hey, would you help me? This is my vision. This is what I'd like to do. Would you please just guide me? And he agreed to do that. I haven't spoken to him up till today. I haven't met him. And hopefully one day I do get to meet him. But over 6 months, he and I corresponded and he would help me fix my code, taught me how to debug my own challenges. And I was able to finish the project. And it was finishing that project that formed the basis of my scholarship here in the US. So I got a scholarship and I came to get my master's in computer science from Tufts University.
Wow.
So I did that. And then after graduating, I went to work in the industry. Now, prior to that, I've always been very entrepreneurial, always tried different things. Back home, I'm not very fashionable, but I tried a fashion line. It did not go well. People that know me know that I'm really not fashionable, so I don't even know why I tried that. But I've always wanted to try something, always do something. So I've always been trying different things. And when I started working in corporate, there was just this whole big dissatisfaction with where I was. I'm very visionary and I like to have ideas, but there was no room for my ideas in corporate because I was a junior engineer. I was like on the very first level. Added to that, got married, had kids, we moved to the suburbs. The commute became like an hour and a half long, one way. I just couldn't do it. You get to work and they call you at the daycare, your child has a fever of 101, you need to come right back. So it was super stressful. And then one of the big aha moments for me was we had somebody come from corporate and they're like, guys, we made millions and millions of dollars in profit this year and you all get $2,000. And the first thing that came to my mind was like, really? All that commuting back and forth and everything, and I just get $2,000 out of all the millions. And not to say that what they're doing is wrong, but that was just a feeling that I got. And I was like, I could do all this work for myself and I could be my own boss. I could have something where I'm putting my own ideas into it and I could have this flexibility for my kids. So I quit my job and I decided that I was going to pursue a business. I looked into a variety of franchises. My husband suggested 7-Eleven. And I was like, I don't know. It just didn't quite click for me. I'm a very passionate person and I felt like I wanted to do something that would be driven by my passion. Because I know that if I'm passionate about something, I will not stop. Like I'll keep going. And so
you're
I knew
not passionate about a convenience store? Is that what you're saying?
No, not really. Largely because I have a soda addiction, and I'd probably drink my entire inventory before I get a chance to sell it. So yeah, I wasn't super passionate about that, but I knew how much coding had made a difference in my life. I knew that if that guy in India had not given me some of his time, I will not be where I am today. I met my husband here, we got married, we have kids. So all of this life would not have happened if that person didn't give me the time of day. And so I'm like, this is something that I could pay forward. This is something that I could build a business around and impact people as well. And there's no better way, in my opinion, to impact people or the next generation than by working with kids. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how Codewiz was born. Speaking of impact, I thought something when I was trying different entrepreneurial ventures. One of the things that I thought would be impactful was a dating website. because I thought, everybody needs to find love. And I had a whole bunch of friends who were looking, and then there were a whole bunch of other friends who were looking, and I'm like, oh, if only I could connect you both. So I did try a dating website. This was back in 2015. It flopped. But I feel like if I had done that in 2020, I would have been super successful.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was just ahead of my time. Maybe it's an idea I'll revisit. I don't know. Way too busy
So,
right now.
I love how you considered fashion, a dating service, and 7-Eleven.
Right.
Really big mix. And that kind of tends to be what happens with a lot of people. They're just kind of, seeking a passion or, seeking an opportunity to pursue a passion and don't kind of know which direction to go. So
Right.
I truly love how you just went for it, went to the library, like you said, or the cafe, and did all your research. And just, I was reading your article in Franchise Times, and you said, I randomly reached out to some guy in India, and so you just weren't afraid to just put yourself out there and get the information that you needed. So I love that.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel like, it's when you have a goal, you just have to do any and everything ethically, to hit that goal and to reach that goal. There's always a solution. Everything is figure outable. You just need to find that solution and be willing to put yourself out there and ask for help. That's also another thing that I think I've learned in my journey.
Well, and along with putting yourself out there comes doing things that are uncomfortable. When you're starting a business or you're looking to leave what you've been doing and start something new, there's a level of discomfort, and most of the times it's a very high level of discomfort. So what most people don't realize is they have to get out of their comfort zone. I think that's just something we go through life and we don't think about, right? When we're working, we're busy, we're on that little hamster wheel, we're running as fast as we can. We know we might want off, but we don't realize how uncomfortable getting off is. And how uncomfortable that space is in between when you're trying to figure out what the next thing is.
Yeah. Oh, I can talk for hours about that, because it was, so first of all, just to give a little context to this, in the Nigerian culture, when you get a good job, you put your head down and you do that job. You don't step off the hamster wheel. You stick with it and you keep doing it. And so it was a thing of pride for like my parents back in Nigeria. Oh, my daughter works at Microsoft. You see that Windows machine that you're using? Yeah, my daughter's touched that. So it's a huge thing of pride. And the salary was not bad. It was like a 6-figure salary for an entry-level engineer. And, so I'm telling my parents, I'm going to quit my job and start a business. And everybody's like, are you crazy? Why would you want to do that? You have a good job, you have something good going, just put your head down and keep going. But again, for me, I just always felt like I was called to something greater. And I always felt like a lot of the business ventures that I had tried didn't quite work out because I was putting one toe in. It was like, oh, let me just see if it will work. But then when I quit my job, I'm like, there's no other option. This absolutely has to work. And so, I forfeited my salary for like a full year. That was hard. I learned very quickly that there are many things in life that you actually don't need. You think you need it, but you really don't. So when you don't have money, you realize you don't need too many things. But if I didn't take that big step of faith and didn't choose to just be uncomfortable for a little bit, again, I will not be where I am today. It's just, I am so happy that I did it because nobody could have predicted that this is where I would have a franchise and we would have 10 locations. Like nobody could have predicted that. But it happened because I was willing to be uncomfortable for a little bit and follow that inner voice that said I was called to something bigger.
So let's back up because you kind of just spilled the beans and said you had 10 locations, but we're not sure when you were founded yet. So tell us about, so you're in that uncomfortable space. When When is Code Wiz founded? Walk us through that. And then when did Code Wiz become a franchisor?
Okay. So, I founded Code Wiz. I made the decision early 2017 that coding for kids is something that I was going to pursue. And again, I've just always been very big dreamer. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this. It's going to be great. I'm going to have 5 locations in Massachusetts over 10 years. This is going to be awesome. And coming from a background where, my parents are professors, they're not business owners. So I felt like, if I could accomplish this, I would be like, awesome. And so started in late 2017, around November. And it was great. We filled our classes very quickly. The moms in the community, moms are just awesome. The moms in the community were super supportive. Everybody was like posting on Facebook. There's this lady who started a coding for kids business. You should go see her, go talk to her. So it was great. Business was great. But then about 3 months into the business, 3 months into starting, so around January or so of 2018, my son was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, and he also was diagnosed with a feeding issue. So he was primarily tube fed at the time.
Wow.
And so that just threw a wrench in all my big plans and big goals, because with autism spectrum disorder, there's like 20 therapies that you have to be going to. And so I had to start dealing with that because I wanted him to have as much of a normal life as possible. And so started dealing with that, taking him to therapies, but then the business started to suffer. And what I ended up doing was, all right, I have to hire a manager who's going to work the day-to-day of the business. That was not my plan at all. I wanted to be owner-operator, right? Doing everything myself. So I hired the manager. And what ended up happening was, while I'm at the therapist's place, she would call and be like, how do I do this? How do I do that? And, I would tell her what to do. She would write it down. And that's kind of what formed the basis of our ops manual today. And as I looked at it, I was like, man, there's so much demand, but I'm constrained by this situation. But I don't want to give up on the goal. So I'm like, all right, because I had looked into franchising earlier, like, okay, maybe we should start franchising. We should look into franchising and start to bring in people who are like-minded, share the same values as I do, want to be in business for themselves, and we can kind of grow this together. So started franchising in 2019. And forgot. So started franchising in 2019, and then early 2020, COVID hit, and we went online. And going online put us on the radar of Tutor Doctor, which is a much bigger franchise company. And, we worked together over the summer, but I think that the biggest takeaway was not so much how much money we made in the summer, but really that we worked really well together and that our values were very aligned. Like, we really care about franchisee success and we want our franchisees to be profitable. It's not about, just taking that check and saying, take care, see you on the 6th of the month. It's really about helping people to be successful business owners. So we were very aligned on that, and it just totally made sense for them to acquire us early. This was 2022, in 2021, in March of 2021. So we're sort of like sister companies with Tutor Doctor now.
So I always say that the hardest franchise to sell is your first franchise. And you got kind of lucky there.
Yeah.
So tell us about your first franchisee and your second franchisee.
Okay. So we have a physical location, right? We have a storefront. And our first franchisee worked close by at the time. And he was coming for lunch. And he saw our sign. And he was like, oh, what is this? This is interesting. He walks in the door, and on the receptionist desk, there's flyers for franchising. And he picks one, and he's like, oh, this really sounds cool. And then he contacts me based just off of the contact information on the flyer. We have conversations, and a few months later, he's our first franchisee.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's every franchisor's dream.
I know.
To have somebody just go knock on their door
It
and
is
say,
not that easy.
tell me more, and then end up buying a
know.
franchise.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
he is pretty strong. He and his friend are partners in the business. They just bought a second territory
Nice.
as well. So it really worked out. And then the second franchisee was a parent. So a parent who was taking classes with us. They also wanted to start the business. So they ended up signing on the same day. So we got franchisee number 1 and number 2 on the same day.
Interesting. So you're in Boston, and tell us where your locations are now. Where you've got
Where we have locations, right? So we have most of us are up north. So we have in Massachusetts, we have 4 in Massachusetts, 1 in New Hampshire, 1 in New Jersey, and we just signed 1 in Texas, where you ladies are at, and 1 in Georgia. So looking to expand to Florida as well this month. Fingers crossed that happens.
That's excellent.
With COVID and just starting franchising, 3.5 years ago,
Yeah.
that's pretty significant growth. Very impressive.
Yeah, thank you. I think people just really understand and see the need for STEM education. It's kind of scary when we think about it, but robots are taking over the world. Like everything is becoming automated, everything is becoming mechanized. I was reading an article. There's a robot that fries chicken now, right? So
Wow.
like even the restaurant industry is not being spared. And what people are recognizing is that the technology that drives all of this innovation is all really rooted in coding. And so we just need more and more and more. So there's already a huge gap in the coding industry, but then it's just going to keep growing bigger and bigger because of the way, everything is becoming autonomous right now. And I think people see that, and people get that.
So Ruth, tell us what, if you were having coffee with somebody and they said, if there was a recommendation you could make to them personally, or a book that you could recommend on entrepreneurship, what would you recommend for them?
So I guess it would depend. It would depend on if they're looking into franchising, because that's a question I get a lot. I want to franchise my business. What do I need to do? And I can tell you that I made a whole lot of mistakes that I don't want people to repeat. And so I would recommend Shelly Sun's book, Grow Smart and Grow Smart, Risk Less. That's the name of the book. She really just lays it out for folks who haven't started franchising, explaining what to expect, how things work, what mistakes that she made. So I would recommend that book for folks looking to start to franchise their business. But if you're just looking into business, the one book that I wish I read in the beginning was Traction. Just understanding how to set your business up right from the beginning, and just having that system that just starts running with you and just helping you to scale your business. It would have been hugely impactful. So for every franchise partner that we bring on now, I send them a copy of Traction, just so hopefully they read it, because I think it makes a huge difference.
I actually haven't read that one yet, so I'll put that on my list.
It's pretty good.
So I was just thinking, as you said that, and kind of as you were explaining the situation with your son's diagnosis, and kind of how you had to step back, I try to look at positive outcomes of things that might initially be considered a negative. And from that perspective, with you having to step back, you did learn how to delegate and really create systems that others could replicate when you were not able to be in there and actually doing it yourself. Is that a fair statement? Would you agree that kind of is how some of that evolved?
Yep, you are absolutely correct. So when I talk to franchise partners now, prospective franchise partners, we're typically talking about a semi-absentee model because that's how the business was built. It was built relying on being able to delegate the day-to-day operations to someone else and spending that precious little time that you have on the things that really move the business forward, the networking in the community, the marketing piece of it. That's the 20% of the business. 80% of it is a lot of administrative work, which you can outsource. But if you have very little time, you should be using that time to do the most impactful things. And yeah, so I ended up just being forced into that situation. They forced me to think, what are the most impactful things that I can do, and what are the things that I can delegate, and delegate and trust is also there's a trust piece to it, because if you don't trust who you hire, you're gonna now spend time verifying what they did, triple checking, double checking, and then you're sucked back into the weeds again. So being able to delegate, provide the person the guidance and the resources that they need to do a good job, and then just focusing on the things that really move the business forward is, kind of learned that through School of Hard Knocks.
That's an
I think
important school.
It is an important school. And that's the value of a franchise, because somebody's already made those mistakes. And so you're able to then come in and benefit from what somebody else has already learned as a franchisee. And, I think a lot of times you mentioned when people talk to you about how to franchise their business, I think that is sometimes they're very involved in it and working more in the business. And so it's a good reminder that the system needs to be replicatable in order to be able to be a franchise. And so, as you said, it was an unfortunate situation, but may have had an impact on maybe how quickly you were able to jumpstart, because, as you said, you had a small amount of time, and you really had to utilize that to the benefit of what you were good at and what would grow your business the most, and learn how to delegate the other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, you just said something that's really important that I try to say to everyone. You have to be very self-aware. There's only certain things that you're good at. You're not good at everything. Like, I know personally, spreadsheets is not my thing. Like, don't ask me to do anything on spreadsheets.
Roxanne and I love spreadsheets, right, Roxanne? A joke between us. So sorry to interrupt, but that's just
That's okay. At least I know I'm not the only one. But yeah, knowing what you're good at and just really focusing on that, because it drains you less when you focus on the things that you're good at, and then just give somebody else the thing that you're not really good at. And thank goodness for things like Upwork. It's really changed our business as well. So little things, data entry, things that would take so much time, even of your manager's time. If your manager doesn't necessarily need to work on that, just outsource it to someone else and let everybody just focus on what it is that they're really, really good at.
Ruth, you gave us so much great information today, and you gave us really just a little tidbit of all the things that you do. So you're definitely leaving us wanting more, and I'm sure our listeners would agree with that. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way they can reach you?
LinkedIn is awesome. You can always connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can just email me at ruth@thecodewiz.com. Super easy. More than happy to connect with folks.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Ruth. It was really a pleasure getting to know you better and hearing your story. We will look forward to spending more time with you, and appreciate the opportunity for others to reach out to you as well. For those of us that are listening today, please feel free to download other podcasts wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us on YouTube at FranNet of Dallas, Fort Worth, and Oklahoma. My name again is Sarah Waskow. It's Waskow. So my colleague is Roxanne Rapske, Rapske, and you can find us on LinkedIn as well. We are very active there. Look forward to connecting. Thanks so much for listening today.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.